And I think that you either have to have a society where everybody gets to play by those rules and everybody could be pro what they are, or everybody is assimilated and we're all Americans. And that's why I say it's detrimental, is that if Jewish people are Jewish first, not of, by, and for America, but of, by, and for the Jewish nation, this is problematic when they're in positions of power, because are they looking out for all of us, or are they looking out for themselves first? And when you look at the Israel policy, that's where people start to say, I think you're looking out for yourselves first. I think you're biased. And unfortunately, you're using the public purse
David,
and American soldiers to fight your own battles. And that's the problem. It's not,
David,
I don't have hatred.
Would you say you are American first or Christian first?
Christian first.
Christian first.
IP, would you say you're American first or Christian first?
Christian first, yes.
If I ask most religious, sincere, devout Christians, would they say that they are American first or Christian first?
Christian first.
So what's the problem?
Yeah, and so I mean, think about his like stupid reasoning here. It's basically, if you're, what he's really saying is, if you're a Jew, then if you have any sort of solidarity with your fellow Jews, you probably have an interest in preserving the one Jewish state, insofar as you're able. One, there's no inconsistency between being red, white, and blue-blooded American and being conservative. How do you know that? Why? Because you have tons of just conservatives who aren't Jewish who are also interested in making sure that Israel isn't wiped out or something like that. So anyway, this just seems to be over and over and over again. I mean, guess what? If you're let's say German or something like that, and you move to the United States and you have a German background, your parents were German and stuff, and you see Germany being overrun by Muslims or something like that, could you legitimately be concerned and say, hey, I don't want Germany overrun by Muslims? Like, what? You have to stop being concerned about the group you came from because you moved to another place, and therefore you're not allowed to be like concerned about them anymore? I don't know. It's just weird and stupid.
Well, I mean, let's take that analogy even further. I mean, think about people that are Taiwanese and live in America. They are concerned about preserving Taiwan as a nation and keeping it safe from China. Guess what? The U.S. also has a vested interest in keeping Taiwan an independent nation because of the chip manufacturing and because it keeps China contained. China has no major access to the Pacific Ocean in terms of land because they're surrounded by American allies: Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Philippines, even Vietnam as well. If they gain access to Taiwan, they get a major area of that coastal area to start projecting more power into the Pacific. Taiwanese Americans have a vested interest in keeping Taiwan an independent nation. So do actual Americans, because the biggest rival, China, is being contained, and Taiwan is an integral part of that. Do we go after Taiwanese Americans for promoting Taiwanese sovereignty and saying we should invest in Taiwan and protect them? Same with South Koreans or Japanese. No. Why is it always the Jews? When it comes to Israel, I will make the case America has a vested interest in keeping Israel a sovereign nation in the Middle East. 1683, the Muslim caliphate of the Ottoman Empire was at the gates of Vienna, and luckily Europe turned them back and started to turn the tide against the Islamic invasion that had been attacking Europe for centuries.
You can't tell that story without giving all the credit to Poland's king, Jan III.
This is true. It was the Polish-Lithuanian alliance that came in and definitely saved Vienna for sure. Absolutely. But we should never, as the West, want to see another Islamic caliphate. We should do everything we can to make sure that doesn't happen. Having Israel there, which is a non-Muslim nation in the middle of the Muslim heartland, keeps a lot of the vested interest in the Islamic world on Israel and not on Iberia or Greece or the Balkans, lands that we have that Europe had taken back from the Islamic world. It's another vested interest in terms of keeping a lot of these terrorist organizations focused on that and not the West, for example. I'm not saying it's a perfect plan. I'm not saying that's necessarily moral. I'm saying it's pragmatic in terms of the West policies. Another fact is that Israel is actually a haven for technology like desalination and other aspects, which the West does benefit from. So there are vested interests in keeping Israel a sovereign nation. I would say, honestly, preventing the West's largest rival for the 1400 years, the Islamic world, divided and focused on Israel and not Western nations, is a vested interest that the West has. So you can make a pragmatic case that the West should invest in Israel the same way it invests in Taiwan, keeping a big rival in check, the Islamic world, for example. Like Taiwan is a good invested interest in keeping China in check. These are things that need to be considered when you're looking at geopolitics, which a lot of the Groypers have not even considered. Go back and study history. Who has been the group that has been attacking and pillaging and raping Europe the most? It was invaders from the Islamic world. Look up what the Almohad.
It was Jews.
No, look at the Deb Shermi policy of the Ottomans. The Ottomans would raid the Balkans, take Christian boys back, forcibly convert them to Islam, and then raise them, brainwash them, and then send them back into the Balkans.
Yes.
Through the process. It was incredibly evil. We should be doing everything we can to make sure that the West is never under the power or less powerful than the Islamic world or some Islamic power because of the history. He who does not know history is doomed to repeat it. And the last thing we want to do is repeat that history. Having Israel, which is kind of like a satellite Western nation right now, would it be better if it was a Christian nation? Absolutely. But it is what it is. And we should work with what we have to make sure that the Islamic world stays divided and focused on Israel, and investing in Israel to do that, I think, has a long-term benefits. And plus, Mossad is very effective at doing what they do. Look at the pager incident from a couple months ago or a year or so ago. I mean, like, that was pretty genius. I mean, I'm glad. I'd rather be again, I would much rather them not be on the Islamic side. All of Nick Fuentes' fans are in the chat going, Jubas, you see? This is the proof. Yes, absolutely.
Hey, do you want me to clean out the chat a little bit?
Why? It's hilarious.
Okay, fine.
I don't care what they do. They're just whining and ranting. What are they going to do?
For them, I don't have a problem with them in themselves or even what they do. It's just that with our system, that doesn't work.
You know what I would say to that as well?
Real quick, once again, let me just reiterate. He says, Marvin says, go debate him. Okay, yeah. Well, I'll debate.
He literally, what, 10 minutes ago agreed to debate Nick Fuentes.
Nick Fuentes will not debate. Stop asking.
So Marvin, I mean, this reminds me of when they say, "Well, you're saying this? Why don't you debate Zakir Naik?" As if Zakir Naik is willing to debate. Like, what planet do you guys live on that all these guys are waiting to debate, but no one is willing to
They're
debate?
just like Muslims. The Gropers are just like Muslims.
The Gropers, no wonder they love Muslims so much. They act exactly like them.
Yeah. Again, I'll debate Nick on which is more of a threat to the West, Christianity or Judaism or Islam. I'll argue that it is Islam. He said the Jews are more of a threat in this interview because they have more power. So let's have that debate.
You know, if they use the American soldiers in their advantage and all that other stuff. Okay. Who negotiated that deal? Some president negotiated that deal. Someone said yes to it, right? When they say, well, let me tell you, you know, that person is afraid to platform this guy because he's afraid his donors are going to go and do this. And it's Israel's fault. No, it's not. It's the guy who runs it's not Israel's fault. What are you talking about? You know, this guy sends me a message, APAC. I got a text, not a text. What do you call it in the X? A DM I get from APAC. Okay. Hey, we'd like you to come to Israel. We'd like to invite you. I'm sure many people get that message, right? They send it. I said, I'm going to come with my pastor. I don't want you to pay for it. I'm going to pay for it. I want to bring my crew because I want to go see Jerusalem. You're not going to see me putting the what do they call it? I'm not going to put that on. But guess what? I respect the culture, and I want to go to Gaza, and I would ask for some idea of protection that if we can go to Gaza, show it to her. I want to see this stuff. I want to go with my pastor. First time around, I'm not going to take my kids. Maybe the second, third time, I'll take my kids. But to me, I don't put the onus on, like when a guy's like, that guy has slept with so many people, this, and the girl said yes. No, but you don't understand. He's a man whore. But the girl said yes. So is it Israel or is it the girl? Do you understand what point I'm trying to make here?
Absolutely.
So to me, it's kind of like, I mean, look, if you said Israel over Muslims, right?
It's an absolutely horrible analogy, but
Which of the
I agree. It was
It's just like Andrew Tate. I mean, what?
that's absolutely horribly.
Is it Andrew Tate's fault, or is it all the women who agreed to do the webcam for him? It's them.
Like PBD needs to stop with these analogies. That was absolutely horrible. It was
It's just like
Yeah.
porn. It's just like porn. You know, the guy, he's banging all the porn girls, but they agreed to get banged. So why are you pointing at him?
it's a horrible analogy because a lot of the times women are manipulated and controlled and brainwashed in those situations. It's not the same for nation states when they're making these kind of deals because they have mutual benefit, like what I mentioned earlier with like Taiwan or Israel, for example. But yeah, bad analogy.
Yeah. So I mean, just to be clear for everyone on the analogy, he's basically saying, hey, if you criticize some guy for banging like thousands of women or something like this, oh, shame on him. He's like, but all the women agreed, and therefore, if Israel is trying to get tons of people to do what they want, but the people still do what they want, and so it's on the people. Why are you pointing the finger at Israel?
what the people.
look, if you said Israel over Muslims, right? Which of the two do you think has been a bigger net positive to America?
Oh, well, it has to be Israel. Absolutely.
Okay, so
Pause. So this is where
What?
I actually think that there is some hope for Nick Fuentes, because like if you put a full blown retard like Jake Shields on here, for example, he would say Muslims, of course,
Muslims saved America. They saved it somehow.
only do bad.
Yeah.
Nick Fuentes still has a little bit of the integrity to actually admit something here.
Yeah.
And to actually say, of course, Israel had a more net positive, obviously.
It obviously does.
Yeah,
I mean, again, I wish Israel would be a Christian nation, but again, in terms of pragmatic aspects, which is better? Clearly Israel.
Yeah, which we also saw when everyone was saying Israel killed Charlie Kirk, that Nick was one of the people going, come on, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. There were tons of people, like everywhere I went, Israel did this, Israel. And he's going, seriously? They killed their biggest cheerleader? Serious? Are you kidding me? Anyway, so yeah, he does occasionally exhibit some
as much as
common sense.
As much as he's a little gay boy who likes little kids, he does have the integrity to say the right thing, or to make some honest statements here and there. So I have to give him that. But today, let's continue, because this is where it gets interesting.
It is. He backs up a little bit on it, but let's give him the credit.
Part about that part.
But, well, in terms of, I wouldn't say net positive. I would say in terms of raw, maybe like gross positive, because they've had a lot of contributions culturally, and even, in terms of art, literature, music, also scientifically. But it's difficult to say on that, because I also think that there's quite a bit of a detriment. I think that the melting pot comes from the Jewish community.
What do you mean by that?
The idea of the melting pot, that comes from a Jewish playwright. Because Jewish people come to America, and like all immigrants, they say, well, we want America to be more welcoming. So they start to spin up these ideas that, well, America was never this country of white Christians. It's always been a melting pot for all immigrants. They want the country to be more open because that makes it more comfortable for them. It makes it more tolerant for them. But this has also made us more open and tolerant for Muslims, for example. We're bringing, who's been the biggest driver of like the Hart-Celler 65 Immigration Act? It was like the SPLC, which is run by.
So then Muslims are more dangerous. Like this is a weird argument. Like if a child opens a gate and a bear runs in, you don't be like, well, the child is clearly more dangerous than the bear. No, that's not how this works. I mean, like, wouldn't this mean that, Islam is more of a threat to Western civilization than Judaism? Because again, Jews apparently have assimilated pretty well, and he's just making the case that they are opening the door to Islam, which is the real problem. So I don't understand. It seems like he's like contradicting what he said earlier.
Well, it would also be another example of how can you believe they're dangerous if they're constantly doing things that would destroy themselves in the long run, right? It's like, okay, if you're saying that because I also hear this all the time. David, you're against Islam. Well, don't you know that it's Jews helping Muslims take over the world? Wait, so a bunch of Jews are plotting and they're saying, how can we get Muslims to take over all these Western nations? And then all these Western nations will be obsessed with exterminating Jews. If you actually believe that, why would you think they're dangerous? You should think they're the most incompetent, most insanely self-destructive group the world has ever seen. And there's no way they're going to succeed because they're going to end up wiping themselves out. They're so dumb. That's the problem. It's guys like Nick Fuentes and so on. They're simultaneously saying things that don't go together. They're simultaneously saying Jews are the supreme masterminds of the entire world. They're epic super geniuses controlling everything behind the scenes. And they're complete morons who control everything and then use everything to stir up hatred against themselves. They control all the media to stir up hostility against themselves. They bring in Muslims to take over the entire world so that Muslims will destroy them. It's like you can't hold both those positions and not have me think you're a complete lunatic.
And by the way, we white European people, we are the absolute best, always have been. However, for some reason, we are always controlled by these absolutely contemptible people for some weird reason.
That's true. Yeah.
Hey, look, look, Ethan says, host Nick for a debate if he's such an idiot. Are these guys even paying attention, or are these bots or something?
Just ignore him. Just ignore him.
Look at
Okay, yeah, sure. Let's do
I don't
it.
even know why. Yeah.
Hop on,
Hey,
Nick.
hey, Ethan, unless you're trying to make Groyper, no, you could just be a troll trying to make Groypers look as stupid as possible. But when we're sitting here going,
You don't need trolls
we
for
agree
that.
to debate. We agree to debate. We agree to debate. And you're like, well, why don't you debate him then? You sound, I don't know. Either Groypers are as dumb as we think they are, or you're trolling and trying to make them look seriously dumb.
Yeah. Listen, Nick wants to have a debate. I'm more than happy to do that. I'll debate him on which is better, or which is more of a threat to the West, Judaism or Islam. And I will argue that it is easily Islam.
Anyway.
Any boot nanny.
Run by Jewish lawyers. And so
wait.
they are major drivers of mass migration. They're all
Wait. Back a little bit. 5 seconds.
Yeah, let me back up a little bit. Yeah, I'll go.
Back that up.
for Muslims, for example.
Back that thing up.
We're bringing, I mean, who's been the biggest driver of like the Hart-Celler 65 Immigration Act? It was like the SPLC, which is run by Jewish lawyers.
Pause.
And so
The SPLC was founded by non-Jewish people
What?
and is run by non-Jewish people as well.
What? How dare you? How dare you use facts?
So that's a lie.
they are
And-
major
and
drivers.
By the way, this is all that whole thing. Like SPLC is like extreme left wing.
Mhm.
This ties in when we were just going through when we're going through an interview with Dennis Prager, and he's pointing out, it's like you can't say the Jews anything. He says you take like Benjamin Netanyahu has nothing in common with like George Soros, like nothing. Like these guys are not on the same page about anything. And he pointed out it'd be like people are saying the Jews started communism. What were the communists saying? That the Jews started capitalism. And you can't all be right. Like you can say Jews were involved in this and Jews were involved in that, but when you're going the Jews as if it's some united front, it doesn't make any sense. So just think, I mean, if you're saying the SPLC, blah 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 blah, okay, those are extreme left. That is not, those are not like the diehard Israel supporters. So you're talking about completely different ideologies here, and yet you seem to be thinking that it's all one big plot, that the super right wing ultra Israel supporters and so on, they're working with the extreme left wing SPLC types to bring in as many Muslims as possible. And so it's like, how do you think these guys are super connected and all carrying out one plan when they're constantly doing the exact opposite?
No, David, the Illuminati, which is run by Jews, created communism and capitalism to make us fight and keep the superior white Europeans that are the most intelligent and greatest people on earth controlled by these stupid, dumb Jews, because obviously the conspiracy works, I guess, even though it's illogical.
The old Zut controls
of mass migration. They're also major drivers of the pro-Israel politics, like the Iraq War. was many Jewish journalists and pundits and advocates.
Sure.
So point being is
The,
like
the
when you
majority
have-
of people who supported that were regular American Christian white people. So therefore, Christians are the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, look at what he's doing. He's basically saying, point to anything, and you can find some Jews
the
who are
Jews
involved.
there, yeah.
Therefore, the Jews are behind it. And AP is pointing. It's like you can do that with anyone. AP's done this in the past with Irish, right? He's like, look at all the Irish. Oh my goodness, this guy has Irish ancestry. This guy's grandmother was Irish, and this person was Irish. You see, the Irish. You could do this with anything. You can find white people involved in anything. You can find black people involved in anything. There's just one group where you're like, oh, look, the Jews are involved. Look, I found a Jew. You see, the Jews. It's like, gosh,
It
it's so,
only
it's so,
ever
like,
applies to
stupid.
Jews. It never applies to anybody else. Only to Jews.